We miss you. I miss you guys.
We miss you too.
We miss you.
How are you doing?
Excuse me?
Tell us, how is your life in Guatemala without us?
You know what? I don't think they try this. I think this is what we
How is your life in Guatemala without us?
It's total different right now. It's, you know, it just, we're not doing the same agenda, or especially with like you, like people just like you guys, like teams, and you know, it's just, but God's been good with me and my family, and I'm doing great. I'm doing some work for coordinated all communities, logistic for our patient. We had follow up, especially in different departments. We have Quetzaltenango, we have Santa Cruz del Quiché, and we have Solola, serve different villages where we are following our patients with illness, with diabetes and hypertensions. We serve them different days, different weeks. Like let's say in, like for example, in Solola, which means it's one of the village of Solola is Nahuala. We have 244 something patients to follow up. We take them to, they see them to make sure they get a medicine for their illness. And we have in Quetzaltenango around 120 something. We follow up also. In Cunén, we have like more than 35 patients where we also follow up them. For example, this week in Quetzaltenango, we're gonna have the staff of Salud y Paz to see in these patients. We're gonna see, we had in our schedule around 75 patients this Friday, October 1st, to see them. And yeah, that's part of my role with Salud y Paz, coordinated communities to make sure we have our patients come and see it and get their medicine. And I have a lot of contact with the leaders of each community, or sometimes pastors. They help us to coordinate this sketching for our patients of Salud y Paz.
I will mention one of the things that's been really, really hard for patients is that transportation was basically shut down for months. And so patients couldn't get to us. And so the work that Jose has been doing has been really important, because we're actually going to them. So we have our clinic open, but right, we're also going out to them. And one of the main factors, or most important factors for being able to do that, is trust and relationship with the community leaders. Because it's so important when there's a pandemic that the community invites you in, because basically communities shut themselves down to protect themselves, and they had every right to do so, because the virus was out there in the big urban areas, but it wasn't yet in their communities. And so working, and Jose's relationships were just so critical, because he worked with them to the point at which they felt comfortable with us coming in and bringing our team of staff. So that was really critical, and that's what he's been doing, and it's just been so important. What we know about coronavirus is that it really affects chronic illness, people with chronic illness, and people who are a little bit older. And that really describes the majority of our patients. And they already have trouble, even before the pandemic, buying their medicines and keeping a healthy diet. So being able to get to them and help them stay on track and not lose control of their sugar and their blood pressure has just been really critical. So that's the work that Jose's been doing, and our clinical team too. Question. So public schools are only doing remote learning, and they've just extended the school year through the end of November. It would have finished at the end of October. The distance learning is basically consists of, they show some programs on television, there are some things in the newspaper and some things on radio. There are lots of barriers for that, particularly with the Mayan population whose parents don't speak Spanish. But that was the government's effort to keep education going during this period. And so that's what they're doing. And the Ministry of Education has actually just now released some information about how they're planning for next year. And it is likely that there might be some sort of hybrid of in-person and distance next year. but probably in rural areas, they might bring kids back to school earlier because they just know they don't have the access to the technology to be able to continue doing distance education. The government also does do food packages similar to Saludi Paz and make sure they have the nutrition and the food keeping going through this time. 3 out of 4 Mayan indigenous Guatemalans already live in poverty before the pandemic, and they're predicting that thousands upon thousands more are either going to fall into poverty or into extreme poverty. And so our work has just become even more important, and we've been able to reach out and do incredible things, and it's been thanks to your support. So I just want to say thank you again for really working with us throughout this time. It's been incredible.